As human beings, we are all hardwired with psychological triggers that make us take action on a daily basis to fulfill a desire, reach a goal, or solve a problem. So in today's video, I'm going to show you 5 psychological triggers you need to use in your e-commerce funnels and pages to build better split tests and write better copy to ultimately increase conversion rate and profit more with your e-commerce brand. First, and one of the strongest and most used triggers in e-commerce specifically is scarcity. So we're going to cover scarcity first. Scarcity is often very poorly used or abused, specifically in e-commerce when you're talking about funnels and brands in general. But before talking and covering scarcity specifically, we need to cover 2 other things that are strictly linked to scarcity and are needed to close the cycle to make it make sense. So when something is scarce, by the way, can be perceived or can be actual scarcity. So there can be an actual limited supply or something, or it can be simply perceived when you write copy in your marketing, when you test things in your funnels in your store. When something is scarce and there's a limited supply, or is just perceived from your marketing, this causes what we call fear of missing out, which is FOMO. FOMO is there as a bridge, really, because since something is scarce, there's a limited supply of it, you fear of missing out on this thing that's scarce. So what this causes in you, FOMO acts as a bridge to cause in you urgency. Urgency makes you act, is what we know obviously as what we want to cause in people, obviously not every single time they interact with our brand, or not on every single funnel. And that's what I mean when I say that's scarcity, and what causes fear of missing out and that causes urgency is often very misused and abused, because a lot of brands use it very aggressively, and it's obviously works very well in terms of sale, in terms of converting people, but it doesn't build kind of a long-term trust and a long-term brand, something that you want to scale longer term. Obviously, it has its place and it works extremely well, and it needs to be used. You need to use all of these 7 triggers. You need to have them in your arsenal and use them on your funnels, on your creatives, on your pages, in your offers and things like that. These are super important triggers and they do work extremely well, but they are often abused because they are so strong, especially, for example, direct response brands use these a lot. But if you want to build a brand that's sustainable long-term, that has kind of a long-term idea behind it that you want to scale over time, they need to use these things. You still need to use them, but you need to be careful with them. But these obviously are super important to use. And I have 2 examples here of 2 split tests you could run for scarcity specifically and fear of missing out and urgency. These ones I've taken from some of the funnels and the pages that Miracle brand is running. The first one is this one on the sales page, which is a simple banner that says 16 orders at this price remaining, this directly under their call to action. The second one is an offer box that they have on a listicle that they're running traffic to currently at this moment, where they're mentioning they have a timer here for deal ending in, and call out for the sellout risk, which is high in this case, calling out also a USP of their offer, which is free shipping. These are 2 different types in this case. So first of all, their scarcity here with the number of orders that they have remaining at this price. So there's a limited supply, an actual real limited supply of the amount of people that are going to be able to order the product at this price. And here they're obviously, this is all what causes fear of missing out, then causes urgency. But here with the timer, they're directly hitting on urgency. So you see the timer, you see the time clocking lower and lower. So you want to act as fast as possible. Also because here targeted in red and written in red, just to make it pop more, make it immediately visible and unconsciously understandable in your mind that you need to act quick to make sure you lock in the offer that they're running on the product. The second trigger we're going to go over here is anchoring. Now, you've heard this as price anchoring when building offers, and anchoring works extremely well because it gives you a mean to compare something. As humans, we like to feel like we've gotten the best deal, like we are smart with our decision, that we made the smart decision, that we can justify our decision with smart rational points. And anchoring gives you an extremely good point of doing that, because when you research something for the first time, you use the first pieces of information that you find about that thing you're researching as a mean to compare all of the information you're going to read about that topic after that. So when, for example, you're reading about something and the thing will cost you at your first research, it will look like it will cost, for example, $500. And then when looking at more and more and more information, you see $100, $200 prices on some other places, maybe 350, even 400. Is just an easy way when you can compare the first information you've received about that topic, and then seeing and comparing all of the other pieces of information that you've received after, and it makes you feel like you've actually found the best deal, not just in terms of actual money, because you can do this with a lot of different things, but it's just a fact that it works the best with pricing, with money in general. So when you feel and when like anchoring gives you the feeling that you found the best deal, that you made a smart decision, it just gives you a much higher boost and much higher probability of converting and of actually going through with the purchase. You can anchor in a lot of different ways. There's the simplest way of doing it, which is just comparing a price, having the actual price and the compared price. If you're running on Shopify, you know what I'm talking about. So the easiest example would be here, this buy box from Happy Mammoth. So for example, the total value of the bundle here would be 240 euros, but the actual value they're selling it for is 210. So this is the simplest example of price anchoring. The other example of price anchoring they're using here is the price per bottle. So you may look at the pricing here and see 240 euros, 210 euros, and think that's a lot. But when you price anchor it to 52, just 52 euros per bottle, which is a fourth, even if it doesn't really make sense in a rational way, because you're still paying, like everyone is still paying the total amount here. You're not paying 52 euros, you're paying 210. But it just, from a mental point of view, from an unconscious point of view, it just makes sense, and it gives you a boost. If you think that if you anchor it to a 52, it's just a lower number. I know it doesn't, rationally it doesn't make sense, because you still pay this, and you know rationally you're going to pay this, but just subconsciously and unconsciously it gives you this idea and this feeling that you're going for the best price. So there is compared price and actual price as an anchor point. There is price per bottle or price per unit of whatever it is that you're selling. I'm using supplements in this case, because it's the simplest example to make. So 50, the price per bottle anchoring. There's another type of anchoring here, which is from a page and a funnel that I've broken down on my channel before. This section here is from IM8, the David Beckham backed brand. And here, for example, since they have a kind of solution that covers a lot of different things about human health, they have a price anchoring on what it would cost you to get all of these things that are included in the supplement by itself. So multivitamins, minerals, antioxidants, superfoods, greens, fruits, all of that stuff. All of these stuff obviously is very costly if you take it and if you buy it by itself. But if you price anchor it to your daily ultimate essential, which contains all of these things at nearly a third or a lower than a third of the price, it's obviously a very strong price anchoring from this to this. It's just at the end of the day, it's just a lower number. There's a lot of things that go behind this. You cannot just like put two prices, one is higher, one is lower, and it just works magically. You have to have some kind of context behind it, some kind of reasoning behind it, because that's what also aids people in making them feel like they found the best solution. It's not that just like higher number, lower number. There's context behind it, but just seeing a higher number that you're not going to pay, that you're going to be kind of saved from, quote unquote, and the lower price, which is what actually you're going to pay to get all of these things that would have costed this higher price, just makes you feel like you found the better deal. The third trigger we're going to go over here is a very powerful one if used properly, and I'm going to make an example of a time where it wasn't used properly, which is having a common enemy. So when you're selling something, but not just selling something, but kind of uniting people or getting people to do something that you want them to do, having a common enemy or describing a common enemy that you want to fight or that you want to defeat is a very powerful thing, because it creates kind of an emotional relatability between you and the person you're talking to, because you feel you both are under kind of the danger of this enemy that's looming over your heads. And using this common enemy as a point to sell something or to get people to take action is a very strong emotional point and relatability point, because it's something that resonates with a lot of different people. Now, a very recent kind of example where this was not used properly is I'm not from the United States, but I've seen, if you're in e-commerce, you've seen the Super Bowl ad from Hims, a massive telehealth, a multi-billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar telehealth American company, and they've made an ad where they are talking about the kind of health system in the United States, the food that the people eat, the pharma system, and all of these things, and they're kind of positioning themselves. They're positioning this the pharma and the kind of junk food company and industry as the enemy, as the common enemy, and then positioning themselves as the solution or the good part of it, or like the good actor in all of this. But like the truth, this doesn't work, because the truth is that like Hims, it's like the company itself is part of the massive pharma industry in the United States. It's a massive multi-billion multi-billion-dollar telehealth company. So they're actually what they're like. It's like they're calling themselves the enemy in this case, because they are a part of what they are deeming to be the enemy, or what they're deeming to be the bad part and the bad thing that's happening in the United States. So that's a great example of how not to use the common enemy strategy. It's actually not as easy to pull off as you think. When you use this in your copy, when you use this in your headlines, in your sub-headlines, advertorials, listicles, and things like that, in your creatives, in your statics, you need to make sure you're pulling it off the right way, because else what you risk doing here is making your brand, yourself, part of the enemy, part of the problem. So you need to pull this off the right way. There's kind of not a specific way to do it. It's very dependent on what you're selling, your niche, the story of your niche, the story of other players in the market and what they've been selling, and their products. The next trigger, and one of the like most easily used ones in e-commerce, is trust and authority. And here you can go over the like very normal, like standard default examples, like for example, having reviews on your page, making sure, like the next step would be making sure your reviews are actually targeted to a specific issue or a specific audience or a specific target market, a customer avatar that you're talking to, or having like actual authority figures in place that can give you the information you need and endorse something with contextual backing of the information that's there, and the claims that brands make and that products have on them. So those are the kind of normal and default examples. There's a lot of different like creative ways you can test here to increase trust and authority of in your product, in your brand. And one example I want to show here that I think more brands should be using is a founder story. And founder story works so well because they might not be the most authoritative figure, depending obviously on their background and what they've done before, but they just create a kind of a parasocial relationship between the brand and the customer, because the brand feels like a person, like there's a person behind it, there's a human behind it that has an experience and created a product to solve his problem, and now is sharing this solution with other people that are experiencing the same problem. So they do add an incredible layer of trust to everything. So an example here is from one of my favorite sales pages out there, the Primal Queen sales page for their beef organ supplement. And here she's telling basically about like weight gain, inflammation, hormone imbalance, low energy, and all of these things. And obviously most of these things are things that a lot of women on a daily basis experience, and she's basically sharing her experience and actually showing a before and after picture of her transformation to add even more trust and even more authority to it. Because if she was able to do it, and if she was able to solve her problem with a specific solution that now she's sharing, now it's actually real and it's kind of contextualized. It's not something that she's promising, or that the product is promising, or an insane claim about the product and about its effectiveness. There's actual like backing of the results she herself has gotten, and she's putting it out there to help other people, and she's telling her story in the copy here. So one of these examples is obviously a great example to use in, for example, listicles, advertorials, or even sales pages if you have a specific angle that's targeted toward having the founder story as a central part of the selling angle, which in this case they're putting off in the right way, because they're using all of these pain points to then lead to the mechanism that provides the solution. But yeah, trust and authority is often very boring, often very kind of standard and considered as a fundamental. And obviously most of the things you would do here are considered standard and fundamental, but you can be a little bit more creative here and have a few more ways to establish more connections and more different types of trust in customers. Obviously, the market gets more and more sophisticated over time, especially in a market like supplements, which I know very well, but also in other markets, especially in supplements, though sophistication is an all-time high and is going to get higher and higher because there's a lot of players in the market. There's more and more products coming out. There's more and more claims being made, and there's more and more research coming out, obviously, with the advancement of humanity as a whole. So trust and authority and having more different channels like that you can use to establish trust help you with selling your product. The fifth trigger we're going over here, and you probably already understood from the examples I have laid out, is loss aversion. Loss aversion is very powerful. We experience twice as hard the pain of loss than the pleasure of gaining something, and this is more of a subtle one. Use this more in your copy and in certain specific sections for e-commerce in your funnels in your store. And I have some examples here that are like show a clear difference between a loss mentality, a loss aversion mentality, and a gain mentality. So the examples I have here is don't miss out on versus get messaging. Most of these examples are about messaging and framing. This is what most of loss aversion is about. Another example is on carts, when you have the free shipping thresholds, you write in a loss aversion way. So saying you're X dollars away from free shipping instead of spend X amount of dollars more to get free shipping. You feel the pain of losing out on free shipping twice as much as getting pleasure from gaining free shipping by adding a certain amount of dollars on your cart. The third example I have here is, again, the difference between loss aversion mentality, so what you'll miss out on without this product or this specific thing, framing with that versus what you'll gain from this product. Again, twice as powerful here because you're missing out on something, which again causes the first trigger we've talked about, which is fear of missing out and your urgency to act. So loss aversion, very powerful one. It's mostly very subtle. So as I'm showcasing here, it's things about messaging, things about little copy pieces, little call outs that you have maybe on your cart, on your checkout, in specific, on your offer box, in your funnels, in your advertorials, in your signals. So they are very subtle, but they are very powerful. Do test these things because they make a huge difference in mindset and mentality between loss and gain. So do run these as a split test in your funnels and see what results they get. That was it for today's video. If you want to implement these psychological triggers in the form of split tests for your e-commerce brand, then with the second link in the description, you can get subscribed to my newsletter. And in the first email you receive, you'll have access to my 60-page e-commerce split testing PDF, where I show step-by-step A to Z how to implement the split testing system that I've used to add more than 7 figures in revenue to 7- and 8-figure brands. So get subscribed to my newsletter and receive the PDF in your first email in your inbox. With the first link in the description, you can book a discovery call with me. And on the call, I'll show you how you can apply the strategies that we've used with 7- and 8-figure brands to your brand specifically to increase conversion rate, AOV, and overall profitability to scale harder, faster, and better in 2025. See you in the next video.